would help if I don't hit mute. Tim, what did you learn about your team over the last week?
Oh, I just think that we probably have some pretty good depth in terms of players and position players that have similar abilities to the other players that are out there. I'm not going to tell you that their abilities are such where, they're still learning, but I just think we have a lot of similar abilities from a position player standpoint, which is going to make it interesting roster-wise, and the ability to use them all. I think that is something that has been on my mind the last week, and that's difficult to do sometimes in a situation where you can't. There's no free substitution. So just looking for opportunities for kids to get on the field and see what they can give us.
All right, Aria.
With 5 games coming up this week, have you determined, the starting pitchers for those games yet?
Not really. I feel like McIlvain will stay in place. I think Saturday and Sunday is a little bit of a question right now, just because I want to get through tomorrow to see what we can do for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is actually a 7-inning game to start off with, and a 9-inning second game, and then Sunday, of course, and then we don't play again until the next Friday. So I think we want to figure out how we can get through tomorrow. Futrell will start that game, and then after that, we'll kind of get back to trying to formulate a plan.
Kayla.
Yeah, Coach, just your thoughts on Spencer Jones here to start the season. I know that he dealt with some injuries, the past few years, and what is he in terms of making the most of his opportunities right now?
He is. I mean, he's played well. He's played well in the early part of the winter, and certainly started off well. We've kept him in that number 3 spot, and he's responded nicely. As you mentioned, I think his ability just to be healthy and feel good about where he is right now from an arm standpoint and from a bat standpoint is good. It's consistent. He is, and he's getting better. I mean, you can feel him from a base running standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint. I just think it's his ability to stay on the field a while since the Cape this summer, and then the fall, and certainly the spring.
All right, Tom.
Hi, Coach. I'm from Sport Techie. We do stories on technological stuff in sports, and I'm curious about the electronic wristband you guys have been using. How does it work? I mean, I'd like to hear it from you. Really, I've read about it, but I'd like to hear from you how it works for you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just a wristband with numbers that come up. It vibrates when the numbers come up. Brownie punches them into Scott Brown, our pitching coach, punches them into a little keypad, and those numbers are electronically sent to the wristband itself. So you've got a catcher and a pitcher, and the position players wear them as well. So every player on the field knows what pitch is coming, or a bunt defense, or a first and third defense, or really anything that way, or a pickoff. So it makes it, there's no cross-ups, there's no signs given from the catcher. The game moves along reasonably fast. Well, it moves faster than it has before. Just think it's a lot easier, but it's no different than really the catcher giving the sign. Now he doesn't give the sign; he just has to set up more than anything else. So the pitcher can really deliver the ball within a 10 or 12 second time period, which shaving time off the college game is certainly, I would think, a good thing for everyone, especially the consumer. And especially when it's 25 degrees on a Friday night in Nashville.
You've been a proponent of this before. I know in 2017, you guys were talking about maybe using walkie-talkies and other ways to communicate with the catcher. How big is this for you? How happy are you with this? It seems like you are.
Yeah, so far so good. I think the all I care about, Tom, is really whether Brownie and the pitchers and the position players like it. If they like it, I'm all for it. I don't want to jam things up for them. We don't want to create something new, and it's really not. It's very simple. You're not recreating the game. It's just the ability just to get the sign and go, and then if the pitcher wants to swipe to another sign, he can do so. So it's really the same process that we've been working with, but a lot quicker process than we've been working with.
How much time do you think it saves the game? Has there been sort of a way to quantify that?
Not yet. I think over a time period, we'll be able to see that, though, Tom. For me at least, I think it shaves seconds. And when you're talking about shaving seconds off of hitters, then you're talking about significant time. And whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, I don't know. But at least the pace of the game, at least from our end, is much quicker.
Do you think that this is going to catch on elsewhere? Or you get a sense that other schools, I know there are some schools interested in this. How rampant is this going to get?
Well, I guess it could, because it makes sense in a lot of different ways. Brownie is fielding a lot of calls. I'm fielding a lot of calls. So that company stands to make some money until Apple devises something that is on a watch that we can use. But I think right now it's pretty simple. But I don't, I've talked to some people that have spoken about the overreaction to it. I think it's quite simple. I don't think there's any overreaction to it. It's not that big a move outside of the pace of the game and just looking down a wristwatch for your numbers. And then I like that pitch. No, I don't like this pitch. I'm gonna defer to another pitch. So quite simple, really. But at least the catchers and pitchers are on the same page, and at least the infielders are on the same page in terms of their anticipatory movements towards the potential of a ball being thrown in, away, speed, that type of thing, so they can get a better jump.
Well, that helps. I mean, you guys in the outfield now know where, I mean, maybe you know the pitch, but you can't really see the pitch from the outfield. So now they know everything, right? Does that help you defensively? I mean,
I would think most certainly. I think getting a jump is really anticipation. It's your mind moving before the play actually happens. That's anticipation. So if you anticipate, let's say, a right-handed breaking ball moving away from a right-handed pull hitter, then if I'm a right fielder, there's a feeling of I'm going to move up a little bit because he's got a chance to deflect the ball in my area with not a lot of pop. So I might move in a little bit. So yes, most certainly from a defensive standpoint.
and my last thing, I'll leave it alone. The learning curve from the players, how have they adapted to it? You get a sense of how they.
Yeah, pretty good, Tom. I mean, we started implementing them when we first got back in the bullpen. And then Brownie says, I'm going to try this and see how the guys like it. He didn't push it on them, but I remember the first day he put it on their wristbands inside the bullpen. They all were very positive about it because they just liked how quickly they could get the sign. And then we went to the position players, and the position players loved it. So it's either on their wrist or it's on their waistband, so they can look down immediately and get the pitch and then go.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Chris.
Hey, Tim, I apologize if I missed this weekend, but with moving Maldonado to the 3 spot, he's a kid who's closed before. You see some teams sometimes use guys to start or to close or high leverage situations. Is moving him to that 3rd spot kind of one of those things where you have him available for, say, a save situation on Friday or Saturday, or did that not have anything to do with it at all?
No, not right now. It didn't. I think what we've wanted to do is just let him get his feet underneath him, because I think, as I was saying to Arya and a couple of the media people yesterday, it's like his 4th start period. You know, you go back to his junior year in high school, and that's the last time he started a game. So just getting him in that 3rd spot and letting him roll with it a little bit and learning how to become a starter again. I mean, I don't think that's an easy transition. He's been in hot temperature situations as a closer, but I think if we choose to put him in that spot again, Chris, then we would do it. I think right now it's just letting him have the mental freedom of, okay, I'm a starter and I'm going to move with it.
All right, Mitchell.
Hey, Coach. Doing a story on John Norwood's home run in 2014. Just thinking back, what do you remember about that at bat?
Did you just get a job at Wake Forest?
Oh, no, Gabe's going there. My son's going there next year. So,
Oh, he is.
yes.
Congratulations. My gosh. I can't believe he's going to college.
That's what happens after he's a senior now. So I told him, don't get arrested and don't fail out. That's all he's doing, trying to do is the next few months.
Great dad advice. That's tremendous. I'll make sure I write that down when we get done.
Yeah, tell all your recruits that once they commit, just don't get arrested.
Oh, trust me, we've been there before. It's a classroom topic. Okay. So Johnny Norwood's home run. Wow. Okay, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
When did that happen? 14?
2014.
Mm-hmm.
You were there
Okay.
on third base. Yeah.
What was the question though specifically?
Yeah. What do you remember about that? It was a 2-2 game that back in
Yeah.
the lawn. No one was hitting home runs, and like Kyle Peterson said on the broadcast after that, he's like, the thought, even though he was one of your power hitters, the thought of the home run never occurred to him. Like what? So what are you thinking at that point? What do you remember about that at bat?
Exactly. Not thinking home run, because we had Johnny Norwood as a center fielder played so far up because the ball just wasn't traveling. I don't know how many home runs that were hit that year. You probably know, but it was single digits, right? It was 4 or 5, something like that. And the other thing about it, and particularly when you go back, that ball was up and in, it was 97 miles an hour. So his ability to turn on that ball was significant. But Johnny was kind of on an offensive run right there. He was the hottest hitter in certainly in the College World Series. And we bumped him up that particular game because he was in a different spot of the lineup. So timing is everything, I guess, but didn't know if that run would be the most significant run of the game, but it was at the time. We talked about base running I remember specifically before that game and how it would make a difference, and it did, because Dansby tagged up at second base on that foul ball hit down the third base line, and that scored the first run. So I would just say that the bookend runs of that game, the base running and Johnny Norwood's home run were significant, but I never saw that coming.
Okay, a couple more. I won't hog too much of the time here.
Yeah.
Norwood is a kid that gave up, if I recall, a decent amount of money to come to Vanderbilt, and every guy has a different path, but clearly his was slower. I don't think it was until midway through that year where he really found his groove, and I'm sure you'd be happy for all your guys in that situation, but he was a guy you probably had to feel real happy about that, getting that big hit.
Yeah, I was. I mean, Johnny comes from a single parent family, lived with his mom and grandmom, and just his wanting to come to school. If you remember, that was Toronto Blue Jays draft, and that was Tyler Beatty and Kevin Comer, 2 first-rounders. And what they did is they signed Comer because Beatty didn't want to come to school, and they offered some of that money to Johnny Norwood too, and he declined and came to school. So those were obviously 2 big people that played a big part in it, but Johnny's decision to come, much like Tyler's, I mean, they weren't from households that they didn't have a tremendous amount of money. So that was a big decision. I was glad he got the opportunity after he left here too, albeit it was, he had an opportunity to come back that next year and he didn't get drafted, but he signed for, I think, 3rd round money in the Cape Cod League that summer. So I'm glad he got the opportunity to play, and certainly had a big impact on our team. But he had to be patient because he was behind a lot of older outfielders at the time. I remember Connor Harrell and Mike Yastrzemski having a lot of discussions with him about patience.
Yeah, one more. And, I've been to a few of the banquets, and you've got a lot of guys there, some real popular guys like Dansby Swanson, whatever, but it always seemed like Norwood got the biggest, or close to the biggest, ovation from I guess the fans and the supporters in there. And he seemed like he enjoyed that moment. He would always have big smiles. So, I'm sure he's going to do some great things in his life, but from your vantage point, how him, I'm sure he looks back at that moment fondly.
Yeah, I know he does. He's a very likable kid too. I mean, I think looking at Vanderbilt for him, he looks at this fondly because I think he just was privy to a lot of growth. I mean, I just remember having those conversations with his mom during his freshman year, and that was a very difficult transition for him. And you wondering sometimes whether he was going to just leave. This was too difficult, whether it was academically, although he came from a pretty good school in Seton Hall Prep. But I just think that negotiating academics and a full-time baseball responsibility for a kid from New Jersey, this was not easy transition for him, and he did very well. And I appreciate his patience and his ability to last through some tough years and have a great impact on our program.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Mitch. Congratulations again. That's
Thanks.
great.
I'll pass that along. Thanks.
Please.
Let's go to Aria.
I noticed that, over the past, all the games, you've gone with a couple different lineups, and you mentioned the depth of the position players, but how have you decided, who's playing first base, who's playing third base, and, which players are getting in the lineup in like which specific games?
I think the handedness of the pitcher has something to do with it, number one. And I think then number two, it's just how the kids train on a day-to-day basis. I think those days in between the games really matter, and we've always told them that. And if they stay consistent to that and you see growth, then you want to give them opportunities. It's kind of like Matt Polk the other day, giving him the opportunity. First pitch, he swings. He's had 2 at-bats in college baseball so far, and he's seen 2 pitches. He swung the day before yesterday, then tried to bunt yesterday when we put him into the game. And Gavin Cassis, too, who's getting healthy. So it's good to see kids getting an opportunity to play, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they played well leading up to this, but yet the only thing that keeps them from playing right now is people that have played just a little bit better and have had more experience. So we'll continue to try to get them in there as much as we possibly can.
Chris, did you still have another question?
No, she got the one I had.
Okay, awesome. Anybody have any follow-up questions for head coach Tim Corbin? All right, Coach, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thanks, gang. Appreciate your time, everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.